How many of you get that need to capture, are really itching to capture, create, not necessarily create, but capture, and capture people? That's what I want to do. Capture people. At the moment, it's there. It's a bit of an energy in me that needs to flow. I reckon this is how musicians must feel sometimes when they're just like, oh, I need to play, and it's like a really strong feeling. But it's got to be my way, right? So it's got to be atmospheric. It's got to be, I decide where that light goes. I decide the composition. I'm in control. I'm in control of every bit of light, every shadow. And I've been reflecting on that this morning because, in life at the moment, there's a lot that I don't feel in control of. Anybody selling property will probably relate to that feeling of not really feeling like you're in control of what's happening or what's going to happen. There's a lot of unknown, right? So I think when you're in a vulnerable position like that, or you feel like you're in a vulnerable position, you feel like you're not in control, it's like you try and create that control, don't you? In other areas of your life, some people go on cleaning sprees, some people, I don't know, there's healthy ways of creating control and there's unhealthy ways, aren't there? Or there's healthy coping mechanisms and unhealthy coping mechanisms. Like the dopamine, the spending, the whatever it might be. We all know what the negative, maybe slightly unhealthy coping mechanisms are, but I've always tried to lean into my photography as a coping mechanism, and it really is. It fulfills that need for total control over your environment. When you get to place the lighting, you get to place the person, you get to, nobody's telling you how to do it. That's really important. That's really important. And that's what I want to create very soon coming up. So to just get so focused in on telling a story, telling someone else's story, telling a story through light and shadow. John Bigglestone, okay, I'm going to go off on a tangent slightly, but it's all related. John Bigglestone used to have a daylight studio, right? And how cool would that be? Something like a greenhouse would be ace, but I feel it would have to be big windows, right? So you've got big, you don't have to, oh, maybe though, maybe you could put a backdrop over the bits of wood, like you don't have to work around the wood. Wouldn't it be so cool? So I was reflecting on this because I thought I want to record this in one of my happy places, this greenhouse, and it got me thinking about when John, in his conservatory, he had this daylight studio, and I was going to copy him and do one in my conservatory because I had one at the time, but I never got around to doing it. But I suppose if you think of a studio like we've got at HK Studios, where it's like black ceilings, black wall, black carpet, and then you add the light in, right? You're in total control, aren't you, in that way, of the light that you bring in to the subject. With a daylight studio, it's like the opposite. So you've got all the light in the world, well, depending on the sun, how much the sun is coming through the clouds, obviously. So it might be stronger and then softer, depending on the clouds. And I love how this is all steamy in here today. And I'm thinking, how would that diffuse the sunlight? Just having that steamy, misty look on the windows. But yeah, so you would have all the light and then you would block bits of the light out. So it's like the opposite of what you would do in a normal studio. So if I was in here creating like a portrait, obviously there's light coming from all around. that side, that side, that side, that side, and the top. So if I wanted to create any shadows or any directional lighting, I would start to get like big bits of card, black sugar paper, and I would block parts of the windows out to create areas where there's less light or no light coming through. Do you see? So in here, as you can see, there's wood at the bottom there. So that area there's no light coming in at the bottom. I have brought my reflector in here just because I was trying to improve my tired eyes. So I brought a reflector in here, but I've just tucked it behind. But that's what you could do, right? So you could still bring in reflectors for low down, because obviously the ground is the only place where you don't have light streaming up. You've got light streaming in from above and the sides, but all around the bottom where you're sitting, like in here, there's like a black fabric on the floor, like a hearth sheet type. What's it called? It doesn't really matter, but it's black, right? So below me is black and this wood, right? So how fun would it be to then get in somewhere like this and then fill it with reflectors on the bottom, and it would be like really, really, really high key. You would just fill in every single shadow ever, wouldn't you? It would be amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna try it one day. I'm gonna have to do it one day. Yeah. So being in control in photography and photo shoots and creation, it's like you get to make every single choice. That's the beauty of it. That's the gift. That would be a gift right now for me. To be in a situation where I get to make every single choice. Yeah. At the moment, my next sort of chapter, I guess, depends upon the boat selling or creating an income. It's all these variables that I'm not in control of. I've never really thought about it this deeply before. And I think your level of consciousness in life, doesn't it just answer so many questions and make sense of so many things when you've got this high level of consciousness about the things that are going on and about your reactions or responses to the things that are going on, how you're feeling inside, how things can support you that you never really expected would, or, you know, like a creative process, like painting. You know, when I paint, it's another way of releasing tension. I wonder how this is looking. Is it looking okay? So what would John say if he was here now? He'd probably say, pick up that camera. I don't want to I really just don't feel like photographing nature or anything like that. It's weird, isn't it? How these phases come up. And it's all to do with what you need in that moment. Sometimes you just want to be out in the sticks waiting for a deer and capturing a deer, right? But sometimes you need connection with other people. Like I say, you need to create your own environment rather than having to wait for that deer and rely on that timing. Again, like crazy. Yeah. I don't want to sit and wait anymore for any nature to pop its head out. I'm waiting enough in my own life. I want to create an environment. That's so interesting, isn't it? So the type of photography we're drawn to tells you something about what you're lacking or where there's an imbalance or what you need on an emotional level, I feel. And that's why I've always, well, over the past few years, I've realised it's really good, like, not to niche down too much, because you could decide, right, I'm just gonna specialise in band photography, for example, and I'm just gonna do that and nothing else. But then once that maybe desire in you to be out doing something quite adrenaline fueled, like exciting, isn't it? Being on a stage with a band, that's really exciting. That's like a buzzy feeling. It's amazing, right? And it's quite energetic. You're quite active. You're interacting with the band. There's a lot of sensory input, right? And maybe sometimes you need decompression from that. And then imagine if you could sink into a different kind of photography that supports you in another way, like macro photography, looking at insects, where you can just decompress, and there's less sensory input, there's less noise and not chaos. Yeah, chaos coming at you, like on a sensory level, big crowds and loud music and having to be on it with your settings of your camera can feel like chaos. But at the right time, you would thrive in that environment. And this is the level of consciousness that I need to create a balanced life within my photography career. Because as a sensitive person, I want to be the person, I want to be the best version of myself, to be able to support myself and those around me. It's like a lifelong journey, this, isn't it? I think being aware of your own needs and how they change day to day, month to month, or week to week is so important to create a harmonious life. And I feel like photography is my way of fulfilling my human needs. It can be a tool to fulfill my human needs, if that makes sense. And modelling, like, it's the same. It's modelling, being part of that creative process is amazing in a different way. And it all becomes a big part of a picture that mirrors and reflects parts of the photographer that wish to be seen or soothed or known or understood or felt or expressed. And to be able to do all of those things through a creative pursuit such as photography or art or music, isn't that a gift? Isn't that a gift? And I feel really lucky that my dad in particular was so encouraging at school, when I found my love for photography. I remember him in particular just saying, you've got to go for it, do it. If you love photography, everything he could get me that I needed, he made sure I had. I remember boxes of photographic paper. He would say, if it's for your photography, I'll get it for you. He was so supportive like that. And it made it all feel possible to get as good as I could at that age. And how lucky am I to be able to do that at 16, 17 years old, to find what I wanted to do as a career. I knew it from such a young age, and I've always felt blessed. Anyway, I'm talking too much about me, aren't I? It's really great to have you guys along for the journey, and I'm just at this really strange place where I'm creating a vision, really, for how I want my future to look, particularly now that Josh is about to leave. So this greenhouse has really helped me to ground and touch something really real and remind myself of, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, 6 years ago now I sold my house, you know, and I had a greenhouse and a garden and I had rabbits running around, and it just seems like a world ago, just another lifetime really. And this is reminding me, being here, of all the things that I loved in my life. It wasn't just photography. It's nice to have different hobbies, different things that you enjoy, to give that breathing space, and they all bring different things as well. So, you know, growing vegetables for me is one of the happiest times, the happiest things that I could be doing with my time. I used to have an allotment, I had it for about 5 years, I had a big greenhouse, I had a garden. As I say, I was always out in the garden and just creating a home, decorating, painting murals on my walls. You know, I'd come home one day and I'd be just feeling like painting a wall a different colour, and I would just do it. And that sense of building a life, really. So that's what I'm feeling into in a vision for myself. So there are a couple of opportunities coming up that I've got to create and capture, right? So I'm going to be capturing, I'm sure you all remember Steve, who plays the flute and the harp. He also plays synth, right. Josh, my son, always tells me off when I say this wrong, but synth is one, synths, I don't know. He does this. Right. So I'm going to be capturing Steve in his environment with the synth, the directional lighting. I'm going to put a little bit of smoke in this one because I feel like it will just add some atmosphere, and it might even help to cover up. There's going to be a lot of cables. I feel like the cable thing is a bit of a challenge actually, because there's so many cables coming out of all the equipment. So I've got to get the angle right on that one. And the smoke sometimes can actually help to take out some of the contrast, say if you've got like a black backdrop on a white cable, you know? So that's going to be really good, but that's not why I'm using the smoke. I want to use the smoke because I feel like it will add some grit and some atmosphere to this shoot. And I think it will almost, you know, when you see like somebody in that environment, like in a club or a pub or something, and it's all smoky, that kind of thing. I want it to have that kind of atmosphere. So I'm really excited to get going with that shoot. And the other one is at a music festival. So that'll be something where I'm not creating the environment, I'm going to capture it. And there's so many pros and cons to each thing, I feel, and I enjoy both. I enjoy creating my own vision, start to finish, like I'm building a set almost. I really, really enjoy doing that. And I enjoy being that control freak that gets to choose everything about that and build it from scratch. And I also enjoy going somewhere and capturing an environment that's already there. Right, and in many ways I feel like I enjoy creating my own slightly more sometimes, because when you're going to capture something and everything's done for you, right, there's two ways you can look at this. Obviously, you're still in control of your composition, your focus, where you decide to, where the main point of interest is, right? And your whole angle and all of that, and obviously the settings on the camera, the depth of field, you're going to choose all of those things, right? But part of me feels like it's less of an achievement in a way because it's already done for you. You've got the scene there and you haven't had to make it, right? This is really bizarre. So in some ways, it's a bit like when you go and do travel photography and you look at a scene and it's like, well, could I really take a bad shot of this? I mean, look at it, it's absolutely stunning, you know? So it's like less of a challenge in some ways, right? But then if it is a challenging situation and it's awkward and there's things that you can't control and you've got to work around a load of things that are in your way or they're not visually pleasing, then it can just be annoying and you can't change it. So I think that that's why I enjoy creating my own environment so much. Am I just a massive control freak? I think there's a really good middle ground in when you choose a location, right? So you choose a location that's different, because the thing is about working in a studio, sometimes it can get a little bit samey, like you've got your lighting, you've done it all before, what's the only thing you're going to change is where the lighting is, and obviously who you're shooting could be different, but you can sort of run out of ideas in a studio with just 4 walls. I used to have different backdrops on each wall in my studio at home, which was great. I had the white high key, I had the black, and then I had these various different ones, but it can get a little bit samey. So like a really cool middle ground, I feel, is to have an environment where you would take somebody. So say it might be like a derelict building, or I don't know, an office block is coming to mind, don't know why, or the forest, right? Somewhere where it's not fixed, so you've still got choices, but there are some variables that you can't do anything about. Like when Steve, who plays the flute, do you remember the shoot in the forest? So we went to the forest for the shoot, and obviously I couldn't control the lighting, but we worked with it, right? So something like that, where there's little things that you have to work with the environment, and it's different. That's really exciting, because then you've got a fresh, vibrant place to shoot that isn't always the same, but you're in control to a certain degree, because you can take the subject over there and do different things, right? So that's like a really nice middle ground for me. I think that's my favourite, yeah. Going to different places, shooting definitely out in nature, I love. The idea of having a daylight studio one day would be awesome. A daylight studio, an ordinary studio, maybe with black walls and black ceiling. And then an arboretum where you can just capture people leaning against trees. An art studio and a music room. The music room wouldn't be for me, obviously, because I don't play any instruments, but it would be for whoever wanted to just play. And then I could come in and capture them playing, because the music room would be so massive that you could have like a drum kit right in the middle, and you'd have so much space all around that you could fit various lights in, like really powerful lights, like John Bigglestone's old lights that I took to a shoot once, and I think the people I was shooting, it was a band, and I think they looked at John's old lights and thought that I was ridiculous. I could see it in their eyes, because they were really old lights. But they were so powerful, and they were, what's the word? Tungsten. They were tungsten lighting, and they were really powerful, and I loved them. But they looked like they were falling to bits. Well, they were falling to bits, really. But you'd have a room big enough that you could get the lighting really far back, so the lighting's never in your way. And then you would have baffles to block the lighting from this area and this area. I was really inspired the other day. My mum and dad showed me a music video. It was Eric Clapton, I believe. And they'd made this set, and there was like a rug, a picture on the wall in the background with 2 lamps either side, and then they had this big guitar case. I think it was in the foreground, and they'd lit this guitar case, so there was like a shadow in the bottom right hand corner, and I was trying to figure out how they lit it. It wasn't on the screen for long enough for me to really study it, but it was on this music video. And music videos really inspire me in terms of lighting and creating that. John Bigglestone used to do that. God. He used to shout all the time. It's like he's here with me. We used to go, white kidlet. That's so funny that I just remembered that. Yeah, right. So one day I would love to do like a music video, but create the environment, but be able to actually properly film it. And I do want to do some experiments on the D5 with that, because obviously it does video. The only thing that I am not good at is then marrying up the audio. I would just need someone to line up the audio with the visual, if you see what I mean. I think that's me. I think I've talked way too much and I'm going to go. And I hope you enjoyed this. And tell me what you think about a daylight studio. This would be amazing. See how... So, obviously you'd need decent headroom, right? Wouldn't you? Unless you just accepted that you're just going to sit people down in that particular space. Then you could just have like a seat with no back. So you could sit them on like, almost like a stool, right? With a backdrop behind. I think it would be amazing. And imagine if it was raining outside. The sound of the rain on the greenhouse. Who loves that sound? And then you're inside doing a photo shoot. Future vision.